It says showtime. So I guess it's showtime, folks. Thank you for viewing and thank you very much for being here. At the very top, I want to give a shout out to someone that just died this past week. Either it was earlier in the week or the week before, but he was a great broadcaster out here in Southern California. His name was Michael Jackson, and he was on KABC radio. Every time he came into the studio, he was prepared. So I prepare my speeches 2 and 3 days prior. I rehearse it, I research it, and at broadcast time, I'm ready, just like Michael Jackson. He was one of the three individuals I wanted to meet in life, and I wasn't able to get a chance to. But his name was Michael Jackson, not of course the singer, but this one was a mighty oak also. I have been able to meet another broadcasting legend. I got her to sign my book, and her name was Terry Gross on NPR radio, and just a fascinating woman herself. I got to speak to her. But this is the reason why when I do these broadcasts, like I said, I'm prepared. That's why I have a suit on. It's because when he came into his studio, he was prepared and he had a suit on. He showed respect, not only for the information that he was getting ready to broadcast, but also he respect his listeners, like I respect the individuals that have taken the time to view my broadcast. Also, another piece of business I like to get to is there is a special lady. Her name is Piper Dellums, Dellums, a very good friend of mine. If you recognize the last name, she is the daughter of the late congressman, 13-term congressman from California. He's the one that started the National Black Caucus. Tremendous human being, and she's a tremendous human being herself. And if you would like to find out some more information about her, I will have a link to a video she has. It's about manifesting. This is truly a brilliant woman with a beautiful mind. So look at the link and be blessed by it. Also, I would like to send a shout out to Carol Simpson. She's the former ABC newscaster. If you happen to know her or if she's actually listening, please get in contact with me. I would love to interview you. If you don't ask, you don't get. So let me go on at what I had gotten everybody here for. It's called the Four Oaks. These are people, these are people that have been very important to me in my life. The first persons that were the Oaks was Mary Grace, my mother, and Thomas J. Sockwell. Yeah. Ladies, how you like that hairdo? This is definitely 1940s. Both are gone, unfortunately. And the other mighty oak is the Cherokee Holy Man. He's to your right on the screen. He brought back seeds to the Native Americans that had lost the seeds. There's some beautiful medicine that he was able to do for these Native American tribes. They called it good medicine. And so these are the three individuals that helped me so much to where I am today. But the one that I want to focus on, since I'm those my mother and father's acorn, I'm in the shadow of White Eagle Mary Tierney. Mary Tierney, I will show you a picture of her at the very end. Now, both of us were two of the most unlikely people to deal with each other. She was a Caucasian lady who happened to pass away at 100 years old today, as a matter of fact, around about this time. And she lived in Kansas. Now, the lady was impressive. She came up in an oppressive environment in the early 20th century where women were really stepped on and taken for granted. Some of it goes on even today. But this lady persisted and she kept on going. She had 3 college degrees, 2 master's degrees, 1 BA. She was a grammar teacher and a reading specialist. And she taught in the Topeka, Kansas school system for a number of years. Now, me, an African American man, 4 years of college at a historically Black college university called Central State University, where I majored in general business. But despite our differences, we fit like a hand in a glove. She had the skills, and I needed her skills. She needed to teach, and I needed to learn. At age 43, we met each other, and she was in her 80s at that time. So our journey of 20 years began. She used to say, Thomas, if you want to be a great, well, let me use her voice, because she had this patrician manner, very formal manner. And she used to tell me, don't say the, say thee. And I'm still trying to learn the word professorial. But anyhow, she used to say, Thomas, if you want to become a great speaker, you need to have great writing skills. And as a metaphoric imagery, she used to tell me constantly, if you were a carpenter, you would be taught how to use those tools. And not only how to use those tools, you would keep them in tip-top shape. They would be sharpened, greased, or whatever. So at age 43, I had to relearn again in depth the 8 parts of speech and the 4 types of sentences. So every Sunday, it was Sunday with Mary. We would study for I would study for 2 to 3 hours. She would have a lesson plan. I would sit out on my back porch and just listen to her. And then she would give me homework assignments. And it was up to me to go through those assignments. And she was a taskmaster. She was dynamic. At 80 years old, I hope I will come to some degree to the amount of energy that lady had. If you see these books behind me, all these books she sent to me because she asked me, Thomas, what do you want after I dance into heaven? And that was her euphemism for passing away. Because I thought the woman was never going to pass away. But she was that's how dynamic she was. I said, Mary, send me your books. I have all these books from her library. And this is the infamous Hohenschel grammar book. Oh my gosh, it was tough. because it had some old English terms in there. But she figuratively and figuratively drilled me every week so that I can become the man that I am to right now. Now, the reason why my skills, my writing skills were lacking is because in the second grade, I had a teacher that slapped me because I didn't get a word. And so I associated not being able to get that word with being stupid. In the first grade, I had a teacher by the name of Mrs. Callender, had straight A's. I did, of course. Then I got into the second grade. The first week I was there, I mispronounced a word and she said, bam! And it shocked me. But I never told my parents about what had happened. And I found out years later that she did the same thing to my older sister. And my sister went and told, and they went to school. And I guess since I was the last Sockwell in the tribe, she was going to take out her retribution on me. So from straight A's to B's, from C's to D's. So I languished from the third grade all the way through high school. The only saving grace that I had is as I played sports and I did quite well. And so by high school, when it was time for me to go to college, because I wasn't ready to get out on my own after age 18. So in my senior year, I started applying to colleges to see if I could get scholarships and to play football. So I got a notice from Central State University that they wanted me to be a student and not play football. And I was kind of disappointed, but that was a godsend because what it did, that not playing football allowed me to focus on my studies. So playing sports really paid off in the long run. And what happened is that once I got there, my from C's and D's, because I graduated with a 2.0 grade point average from high school. And I was able to get into college at a historically Black college, Central State University in Wilberforce, Ohio. And I was able to thrive because at that time I had a nurturing environment where we had professors that nourished us, that fed us on a daily basis that you're good enough and you're going to do great things. And they would tell us about our graduates. We had Nancy Wilson that graduated from our school. And at Wilberforce University, because it was two schools, at Wilberforce University, W.E.B. Du Bois, yeah, taught, he was a professor back in the early part of the 20th century at the school, and also one of the African American museums is located at Central State University. Wilberforce University and Central State used to be together till the 1940s, and they split during those times. So I went through 4 years there. I was president of my fraternity, Phi Beta Sigma. All my Sigma brothers out there, and all my Zeta sisters out there. Shout out to you. But it was one of the best experiences I ever had as far as college was concerned. So I came out of Central State and I didn't know really what I wanted to do. I didn't really have an inkling. I majored in business, but when I go back and I look at all my transcripts, I noticed that I did well in the humanities as opposed to business. See, my father was a Black businessman and he did quite well. Before he passed away at age 47, he had acquired 3 homes, 32-acre farm, 16-room house. Most of the people in my family on my mother's side were quite entrepreneurial. I had a uncle-in-law that owned a chain of what is called at the time IGA, Independent Grocers Association. And so my family was known for the entrepreneur spirit. So I said, well, entrepreneur spirit must rub off on me. So my first job out of college was becoming an assistant branch manager at a bank in Detroit. Hated it. They did me a favor by firing me. It was the best decision that was made for me, other than getting married to my wife, my late wife, that was made for me. And thank God they did. But one drawback on that firing was is that it shrunk my confidence. And as White Eagle would say, his name was Carl Barnes, by the way, you were as low as a wagon wheel rut with a snake belly in it. So my confidence was really low with my intellectual abilities because in growing up, I was made to feel as if I was stupid. My sister got a hold of me when I went to college. She said, Rusty, that's my nickname. You can probably tell by my red hair that regardless of whatever happens to you, always keep on going. So that's what I did. In spite of my confidence being low, I persisted. I kept on going, never gave up. So I've been in business for 50 plus years of keeping on going. Okay. Now, what I did when I got to California after leaving Detroit is I started taking jobs that did not, for me at least, require a lot of mental acuity. And there's nothing wrong with these jobs that I had because I was able to buy homes, 2 brand new homes, car, provide for my wife to go to every state in the union, send my in-laws to Europe, so many other things was able to do. But I was so miserable. As a matter of fact, I go through that same area and start having panic attacks. That's how miserable I was. But when I do these sessions, it just fills a hole in my soul. And I know I'm on purpose. I know it is. So at age 43, after getting debased and humiliated by one of the bosses, I called Mary and said, Mary, with tears in my eyes, because I was just so hurt, because I knew I could do better, but I didn't know how to do better. I said, Mary, I need to learn how to write better. And she says, okay, Tom, I will show you because it's obvious. If you look at God's name, the acronym of it, God, gift of desperation, and I was desperate. Gift of desperation. So she said, okay, I will start teaching you. So her daughter, Donna, and Mary put a reading list together, and her suggested reading list, and it was a murder row of authors. It scared the bejeebies out of me because I didn't think I was bright enough. Her daughter said, you're going to have a classical education. At the time, I didn't know what she meant. I read literally a good portion of the Western canon of literature and the great artists from Shakespeare. That really scared me. But there was a companion that had on one side the Victorian English and on the other side contemporary English. No Fear Shakespeare is what it's called. I read Macbeth. As a matter of fact, there's a movie out right now on Macbeth. Something Wicked This Way Comes, that comes from Macbeth. Hamlet, which was my favorite. Merchant of Venice. And Henry IV. Romeo and Juliet. A rose is a rose by any other name, but still a rose. Now, also, for my own sake, what I did is I read such notable artists as Toni Morrison and Maya Angelou, so I can get a Black perspective, African American perspective. It was important to me. I knew about my own culture because I have a lot to be pleased about. Mary would always admonish me when I used to say something to be proud of. Thomas, get that word out of your vocabulary, pride. You should say pleased. And so, Mary, I'm pleased. And so I learned about those authoresses. I learned about, and what kind of stopped me is that the racism that was in those books, in particular Shakespeare, dealing with Othello, jealousy, Herman Melville, all the English writers, and some of these books I had put down and stopped reading before I met Mary. And her daughter said that was typical for that time, but just get the message out of there and just hold your nose. And so I did. The reason why I had a classical education was because Mary told me these books, a lot of them is the reason why our society exists. A lot of the frameworks of our society is a result of these books, in particular the Bible, Judeo-Christian Bible. And that was one book she said, I want you to read continuously. So I was able to read the Bible from cover to cover. Also, she made me, I used to joke with her, she forced me. She used to get a kick out of that. But she forced me to read the entirety of the Christian Bible, the King James Version. But I got a contemporary version now. And it was so helpful. So she said, Thomas, if you really want to be a great speaker, if you really want to navigate yourself through the Western society where the rules, these are the rules of society, you need to know certain key words. You need to know about, there was one by Don Quixote, tipping towards windmills. And I'll let you guys look that up, but it's an inference of someone being delusional. And, but be that as it may, is, so these are the key words to people that say, oh, okay, you're literate and you're educated. So Mary taught me, learn your Beatitudes. And that's what I did. So for the past, I would say 8 or 9 years, I read my scriptures every day. And one of the first things I do is read the 91st Psalm, which is a protection prayer. And the reason mainly she wanted me to read the Bible is because she used to tell me that is an instruction manual to your soul. So wherever I go, I have my scriptures. Mary sent me so many Bibles. It's not funny. I have my other Bible, but this is a small Bible. This is with the New Testament in it. And so, in case of emergency, I can pull that out. I have my big Bible over here, concordance, etc., etc. So that is what renews me. That is what fills my soul. So, as a result of reading the scriptures and Mary putting me underneath her wing and guiding me, I have a book and I don't have it in front of me right now. What Mary would do, because she knew that I was going to work at, and I'm self motivated. So she knew that I was going to do the work. Mary understood that at one time I had OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. And so as I was going, when I got these books, this was one of the books that she gave me. It's called Brain Lock. And what she had done, and it put me in tears, she read the entire book, underlined it, pointed out what each thing meant. That's how much this lady loved me. So this time last year, I got a call, well, the day before, the 22nd, I got a call from Suzanne from where she was staying, her nursing home. And God has given me certain gifts. And so Mary asked her to tell me, and Suzanne was in tears at the time, ask Tom, is it okay for me to pass away? And I told Mary, because she had COVID, she was 100 years old, she was suffering, she broke her hip, and just a plethora of things that was just happening to her. And what I told her, I said, Mary, you're needed and wanted. And for selfish reasons, I said, she's needed and wanted here. But really, she was needed and wanted in heaven. And so my master teacher passed away. As a result of her tutelage and working with her nearly every day, sometimes I would call that poor lady, but she always had time for me, always. There would be a troubling thought I would have. I would call her at 11 o'clock my time, which is 1 o'clock her time. She was up. And I said, Mary, I'm so sorry, but this is really bothering me. And we would talk for an hour. That's how much she loved me. When I was growing up, I suffered in silence because I was a quote unquote good boy. But no one knew that I was really suffering. But Mary understood my suffering. And she's the only person up until that time where she said, Thomas, you have a brilliant mind, so use it. Everyone should be so fortunate to have somebody like in their life. As a result of her tutelage, I have become an educated, good man. I have a daughter that's a straight A student at her school. I am not just a life coach, but I am a master life coach, which means I teach life coaches how to become a life coach. That was just bestowed upon me by a lady called Barbara Wainwright. And she is head of her corporation, I believe it is, called Barbara Wainwright Global. Tremendous lady. I've written and I'm currently editing my own book. I wouldn't have been able to do it unless Mary gave me the confidence to do it. And it's called My Differences Are My Power. Our darkest past is our greatest assets. God allows us to go through difficulties so we can see our purpose. I know this is my purpose. I love doing this. I love life coaching. I love being a Reiki master. I love doing Tibetan breathing. All these things were the sharpening stones so that I could be able to teach it. A lot of these things I've been doing over a decade because of her tutelage and her guidance. And when I used to talk to her, she would have these insights. Some people might call it second sight. Thomas, go this way. And I would listen to every word she said. Because when I went out and did it for myself, it worked. So I've learned to improve my second sight. But the main thing that she taught me, and the best thing she taught me, was my deep belief in God. Before, I was lukewarm. And we all know what the scripture says about lukewarm. I will spit you out of my mouth. But when I went through a very difficult circumstance, and I'm going to talk to you, everyone, one day about what I had gone through, I lost literally everything. Everything. Wife died, dog died, lost a house. My daughter wasn't with me for a period of time, but I steadfast because of the things that Mary said to me. Someone lied, but the main thing I learned, that's the reason why I lost those things. But the main thing that I learned was forgiveness. So everybody who has cheated me or lied about me or was negative towards me, I just had a lady the other day that said I was a snake and a skunk and a hypocrite and so forth and so on. So you know what I said? Because a soft answer turns away wrath. That's biblical. So it said, may God bless you and keep you, and may you have the same blessings as I do. Because if I knew anything, if I kept that resentment inside of me, that would eat me up. So that's the reason why I have joy in my life. That's the reason why I do these things, why I lecture, why I am a Rotarian. I just became a Rotarian, which is a service organization that I'm extraordinarily proud to be in. Got my little pin, I should have wore it, and my little shirt. So I was a president of my Toastmasters, and I can go on and on. And I will be working with the mayor here very shortly, well, one of his boards here. All the people that are mover and shakers within my community are in the Rotarian Club. And so I get to bend their ear. One thing I will never forget is Mary told me one time, Thomas, you will walk among kings and queens and presidents. And that's what I'm doing because she gave me the confidence. So when I do these broadcasts, maybe there's some young lady, young man, some senior citizen, some person that may be lying down and don't know how to get up. Maybe my story will help you get up and help yourself. Philippians 4:11. I can do all, not some things. not on occasion or whenever I feel like it. But God says, I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me. As a man thinketh, so he shall be. So without Mary, White Eagle, my mother and father, I would not be alive today. I know I wouldn't be. I was over 350 pounds. I lost 140, did the LA Marathon, got all these little titles. But the main thing is I get up every day and I say to myself, as Dr. Cornell West would say, who have I helped today? Now I have the confidence to go and speak, irrespective of who it is, from Prince to pauper. Good morning. How are you? As I mentioned in one of my other videos, I had to leave one Starbucks because everybody was talking to me constantly. I couldn't concentrate on my work. I owe that to Mary Tierney. So, dear one, sleep with the angels. I love you. This is Mary Tierney, the one that literally saved my life. God bless you and keep every single one of you. May you have many blessings and peace profound. And don't forget about Piper Dellums. And if those individuals out there that know Carol Simpson, please let her know to get in contact with me. I will upload her video or her link to her video. That's Piper Dellums, Dellums, at the end of this. But thank you very much for listening to me. And I hope I've been a helpful and true servant. God bless everyone.